What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt. Alright, so I just got through watching Sony's heavily hyped E3 press conference. And honestly, going into it, I thought it was going to be pretty damn good. Given the games that they were going to be focusing on and a lot of the third-party announcements I was expecting to see, I thought this was going to be a pretty freaking good show. Yeah. So, Sony tried a new format with this year's E3, and it will undoubtedly go down as by far the worst experiment, the worst E3 format in the history of E3. It was terrible. So they showed Last of Us 2 footage first, and they decided to build this cabin, which they kept calling a church, specifically just to show Last of Us 2. Because apparently, it looked like to me from the footage, they were pretty much remaking a building that the scene from Last of Us 2 that they were showing first was actually in. If you look at the background, it looks just like the crap that they built to put the press in to show the footage. Right? And the footage of Last of Us 2, as expected, looked pretty freaking amazing. And honestly, if all of that was the gameplay wise, if that was really real time and that's exactly how the game's going to play and look, that is single-handedly probably the best AI I've ever seen in a video game. If you guys go back and check out the footage of that and look at all the small details, it's pretty freaking jaw-dropping, right? But here's where the problem lies. They didn't show that much footage of these games. They showed that footage for a few minutes, and then they emptied everybody out of there and went to a completely different part. And we had to wait for them to get there and get seated. And it was just really stupid, right? So then they showed the next game, the Ghost of Tsushima, or I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Ghost of Tsushima? And honestly, the graphics, the presentation was really good, but the animation and the combat going from God of War to that and some of the other games didn't look too good. It had good presentation, but honestly, the game looked freaking boring from what they showed. Maybe it'll be better than that when the game actually comes out. But from what they showed, I wasn't really impressed. The graphics looked really good, like most Sony exclusives do. But as far as the gameplay, the game looked pretty freaking boring. Right? So, and we got to see Death Stranding, a game that a lot of people, including myself, have been waiting to see more of. And it's crazy because not only do we still not understand what the heck is going on with that story, they finally show gameplay, and it's literally the nigga walking around doing nothing for about 3 minutes. We waited all that time for this dude to walk around with a backpack. Like, they didn't show anything really gameplay wise about this game. This is like the third time we've seen this game already, and we still don't know what's going on. I mean, I have high hopes for it because of who's making the game, but as far as the gameplay that's shown so far, not impressed. Honestly, not even really impressed with the visuals so far, which is crazy. Considering the engine it's running on, but wasn't really that impressed with that either. Hopefully it's just that Kojima is keeping this stuff under wraps, but from what is shown so far, honestly, Doesn't look that good. Then we have Spider-Man. Spider-Man looked great. Spider-Man looked a lot better than I thought it was going to look, both visually and gameplay wise. I think that game is going to be a gem. Between that and Last of Us, those are two winners. Now, the conference was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. The whole conference was an hour, but if you count all the times that we was waiting for between these damn intermissions, the conference was probably like 35 minutes, right? And they didn't show nearly as many third-party games as I expected them to unveil during the conference. They did, however, show Resident Evil 2 Remake, which looked absolutely fantastic. Actually, that's probably the highlight of the entire conference, which is crazy because that's a freaking multiplat. It's not exclusive. But between the Last of Us footage and Resident Evil 2 Remake, those were the two highlights of the show for me. They showed another game called Control. I don't know if that's exclusive, probably not, but that one looked pretty decent also. But I expected a much longer, more thorough conference. Expected much more multiplats and third-party announcements like Mortal Kombat 11. And yeah, it's pretty disappointing with this conference. And honestly, if you're being honest with yourself, you probably were too. I don't care how big of a Sony fan that you were. I know you expected to see, after all this, more than 4 minutes worth of freaking Last of Us 2 footage, more than a couple minutes worth of, like, the way that they advertised this conference. They said, oh, we're gonna focus on these 4 games, gonna be thorough. Like, honestly, I was expecting them to talk about or show these games for at least about 15, maybe 20 minutes a piece, the way they were talking about it. But they didn't show these games any longer than they would show a third-party game. So that was pretty disappointing. This E3 so far is kind of meh. It's not too good so far. So hopefully Nintendo can come by and clean it up, but it ain't looking too hot so far. Let me know what you guys think. Later.